2 years ago, I got this book for my birthday, and I never really looked into it until I did. And guys, there are so many connections from historical Bourbaki to 21 Pilots narrative Bourbaki, and it is insane. So today I thought, since the album is coming out in a couple weeks, and since Bourbaki is becoming increasingly more important, we should look inside of this book to reveal to us all of the secrets about Nicolas Bourbaki. A little disclaimer before we start. I will be talking about... So if you are uncomfortable listening to that, I totally get you. I will see you next time. I still encourage you to tread lightly and to stay safe. So the name Bourbaki in itself is a little strange, so I want to talk about the history of it. It came from a French general named Charles Bourbaki. So the biggest part about General Bourbaki's history is that he suffered a massive defeat during the war. And because of that embarrassment and because of that embarrassing loss, he decided he wanted to end his own life. Of course, he failed and he lived several years afterwards, but it was such an embarrassing moment that he decided he wanted to take his life in his own hands. 21 Pilots have often dealt with these subjects of mental health and have often encouraged others to find purpose and find meaning so that they don't end up like Charles Bourbaki. A founding member, rather, of Bourbaki named Jean Delart, I think. He's a founding member of Bourbaki, and he was a captain in World War II. He led a small regime where a soldier would chant, "We are the army of Bourbaki," which I find is interesting because they're unifying each other under a name. Ultimately, there were 9 specific students in a school. Here's the name of it. I can't pronounce it. In 1924, and 9 bishops, students. We fast forward to 1934, where Henry Carton and André Ville, or Wheel, or whatever, decided to write a textbook on analysis since they were displeased with the current way of mathematics. This is the big idea of today. Bourbaki was formed when a group of similar individuals came together to reshape an industry or an idea, because the entire premise of Nicolas Bourbaki was built on reshaping modern mathematics. In the same way, the bishops want to reshape the way we think, we feel, and how we act on our emotions. After the initial Bourbaki meeting in 1935, they adopted the name Nicolas Bourbaki. There were 9 official members of Bourbaki to begin with. Again, 9. It's a big deal. Here's something interesting. Unlike the bishops of Dima, arrivals and departures within the group of Nicolas Bourbaki were marked by no ceremony. The 21 Pilots, Nicolas Bourbaki, they mark departures, not, physical, but more spiritual departures with grand ceremonies, the glorious gone, the annual assemblage of the glorified, stuff like that. But Nicolas Bourbaki, historical Nicolas Bourbaki, does not celebrate arrivals or departures. After their meetings, they began to organize and plan an elaborate textbook known as 7,000-page Elements of Mathematics. So there's a very prominent member, I've mentioned his name a couple times before, his name is André Wheel, or André Ville. Again, I'm a dumb American, so I'm going to say it wrong. So André Wheel was considered the first among equals within Nicolas Bourbaki. Now, André Wheel, even though his name is André and that's another name of the bishop, he's kind of filling the role of Nico because he is the leader among equals. I'm assuming the bishops don't have like a caste system or anything like that. So this was a quote from the book written by Maurice Michal. So this is Michal's quote. "The group, Nicolas Bourbaki, preserves its secrecy to preserve the collective nature of their enterprise," which I thought was very interesting and very telling to how historical and lore Nicolas Bourbaki kind of intertwine. So there were 3 main things that Bourbaki provided for the mathematical world. Well, 3 things that are important to 21 Pilots fans. It's the empty set, the dangerous bend symbol, and topology. Let's go in order. Empty set notation, which represents a set with no elements in a function? I didn't pay attention in Algebra 2, okay? It's taken from the Norwegian alphabet, and it was invented by André Wheel, which I liked to think is an extension of Nico, so he invented the null symbol. The dangerous bend symbol, which we're all familiar with now, thank you Tyler, it means dangerous curves ahead. It was placed by a math problem that caused a lot of errors within arrogant students, and it was meant to humble overconfident students. Of course, the null symbol and dangerous bend symbol have already been talked about so much, but we haven't really talked about topology. Now, topology is a strange form of mathematics where you're shaping and reforming figures, and you're making sure that a coffee cup is topologically equivalent to a tire. It's weird mathematics, but there's a very key point to this entire concept. And it's not even within the mathematics, it's in who founded it. Of course, Nicolas Bourbaki refined it and made it more legible, more clear, but the original founder of topology is so important. Listen to this. The founder of topology, his name was Felix Hausdorff, and what's important about him is that he, his wife, and his sister-in-law decided to mass unalive themselves because they didn't want to face deportation by Germany in the 1930s. You can fill in the blanks there because I don't want to say that word. Anyways, such a huge part of the Bourbaki story because 21 Pilots deals so much in that subject. I've said it before in this video, but it is so crap. My audio isn't plugged in. Sorry about that. It's so crucial for 21 Pilots to let their audience know that they're not alone in their battle with mental health, and they always encouraged their listeners to find other ways out of their pain. Here's a note that I wrote down, and it kind of alludes to what I was just saying. Mental health and suicide are topics 21 Pilots discusses, and the very story that they're telling, the very narrative that they're building, was written by people who struggled with those issues. There's also a poem/sonnet that Andre Weil wrote. It has some comparisons to the narrative, but I already made a video about that, and I highly suggest you watch it because it took me like 2 days to edit it. Another thing I want to reiterate is that historical Bourbaki relates to fictional Bourbaki or lore Bourbaki in the sense that no one is supposed to know what is truly going on inside the confines of the group, because the citizens of Dima don't truly know what vialism is yet and what the bishops are using the vessels for. Same way that historical Bourbaki originally just wanted Nicolas Bourbaki to be a secret joke, like an inside joke between a lot of smart people, and it turned into this huge revolution in the math industry. And it's just so interesting to learn about those things and to learn about how secretive they were. Another topic that someone brought up, they met Tyler and Josh at the London show, and they did a little meet and greet thing. So this person, they met Tyler and Josh, and they asked Tyler about Simone Weil, or Veal, again, dumb American. So they kind of went down on a rabbit trail, and they explained to all of us how important Simone was in this story. And ultimately, based on my findings and based on their theory, is Weil was a political activist in a lot of rebellious groups. So for her time in France in the 1930s, she was a member of the Communist Party and supported a lot of Marxist ideas. And ultimately, what I deduced was that she was the original rebel. She was the person who inspired rebellion and change within a community. That's kind of what the Bandidos do. Now, what she was supporting, what you need to know about Simone Weil is that her death was ruled as a suicide because she was going on a hunger strike. She was very, very passionate about it, and she would go to very extreme lengths to get that message across. Ultimately, that idea of starving to death inspired a lot of people, and that is essentially what vialism is. It's taking a tragedy and being inspired by it in the wrong way. And I just thought that was so interesting and so key to the story that 21 Pilots are telling. I have been trying to make a video about Bourbaki for months, and I just never found the chance to. But Clancy's releasing in a couple weeks, and how soon is now? Am I right? I hate the Smiths, and I will see you next time.